Well, congratulations. If you're seeing this, you made it to mid-July. You're in the middle of summer. You've now made it through 4 months of the pandemic and all the assorted idiocy that seems to go along with it. But unfortunately, now that we're in the middle of summer, this is usually when Walmarts across the nation throw open all the front doors and start selling backpacks and notebooks. It's time to go back to school. Yeah. Come get your supplies, kids. Yeah. So, I don't know how that's going to work out. There's two differing, schools of thought on this, if you'll pardon the not purposeful pun. Obviously, schools provide a certain amount of normalcy and opportunity for kids to grow and socially develop and parents to finally be able to day drink in peace. Uh, but it looks like it's all going to be coming to a head now as, concerns over the economy and parents needing to get back to work versus, safety and, not spreading corona around even more than we already have. The two are kind of. So I thought we'd take a look at what's going on with the get back to school war and who's going to win this one. And of course, we're going to start off with the commander in chief, El Presidente, head of the current regime himself, Mr. Trump.
And we do want to get our schools open. It has virtually no impact on children. They're just stronger than we are. The mothers and the fathers and the kids, they want the school open. There's danger in not opening too. You understand that. We've been seeing these reports and they're horror shows when you stay at home and you can't get out, you can't do what you want to do, and that causes a lot of problems. It even causes death, frankly. So we want the schools open, and Georgia's been a great example of a state that's done it all right.
That's right. Donald Trump wants you to know that Georgia is an example of a state that's done it all right. That, headed back to school, got to get the kids out before they, die from not being out. Which, by the way, I fully acknowledge that being cooped in the house for like months and months and months is really, really bad and probably not good for a lot of people. But how you can fix that is you go to the front door of your house and then you get a mask and you put it on and then you go outside and you do stuff. It's really awesome. It's like being outside. Okay, we're moving on. Woo! It's going to be that kind of day. So, Trump actually rolled out Betsy DeVos, the head of the Federal Department of Education. She also happens to own one of the largest collection agencies in the world that makes most of its money collecting delinquent student debt. Totally on brand for her to be part of the Trump regime. So they rolled her out and sent her out to Georgia schools. And she was basically letting people know that America's schools should find their ways to offer in-person instruction, even as some plan to teach students remotely this upcoming school year. U.S. Secretary of Education Betsy DeVos said in a 30-minute online question and answer session with Georgia Public Policy Foundation, a fiscally conservative nonprofit organization, that students, particularly those from low-income households who don't have the same resources to learn, need a routine that includes interacting with classmates and teachers. That's right. Betsy DeVos had an online meeting to tell people that poor kids need to go back to school in person. I didn't say it. She said it. It's right there. I'm just reading the words off the screen. We know that there are many kids today who are suffering because of isolation and distance from their peers and teachers, DeVos said. Yeah, and if their parents weren't assholes and they put on goddamned masks, guess what? People would be out playing. They'd be wearing masks, but they'd be playing. But no, we didn't do that. We had a hodgepodge system of opening, closing, opening, closing, opening, closing, just to keep the what do you call that thing? The economy. Yeah, to keep the economy above the Mendoza line and to, make sure that technically, since businesses weren't closed, that the people who chose not to go back to work during a pandemic wouldn't qualify for unemployment, thus keeping the state from going bankrupt a little while longer. I mean, it's Georgia. That's what they do. So on the heels of these two things, Georgia governor came out and banned cities and counties from mandating masks amidst this big discussion, in school districts and counties across the state where people were, they're trying to decide like, oh, President Trump wants us to go back to school. Betsy DeVos wants us to reopen classrooms. Wow, what are we going to do about protection and PPE and masks? And, school board, at the end of the day, school boards are run at a county level. And the Georgia governor basically told counties, you're not allowed to enact any mandatory mask laws. That's it. Just like that. That's it. We don't care what your local officials who were elected by you want to say. I am Donald Trump's personal Georgia governor, and I am declaring that cities and counties cannot make masks mandatory. I mean, that's a thing. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp is banning cities and counties from mandating masks to be worn in public to limit the spread of COVID-19. Kemp's executive order is a revised extension of guidelines put in place. Earlier, the governor has called implementing such a measure, mandatory masks, a bridge too far. The executive order reads, state, county, or municipal law, order, ordinance, rule, or regulation that requires persons to wear face masks, coverings, face shields, or any other PPE while in places of public accommodation or on public property are suspended to the extent that they are more restrictive than this executive order. Good to know. His orders had banned local governments from taking more restrictive steps than the state, but the new set of rules specify that cities and counties can't require face coverings. So that's it. Donald Trump says that Georgia is the model of what America should be doing in sending kids back to school. Betsy DeVos, the secretary of the Department of Education, went online to tell schools that they should have people there in person. And now Governor Kemp has come out and said that nobody can mandate masks being worn. In case you were wondering, before we delve into exactly how well this played out, this is what Georgia's COVID statistics look like, dating from February until July. You'll notice the line keeps going up. Because Georgia is a model of how we should be handling COVID. That's what the president said. So Governor Kemp comes out, says, nope, that's right, counties, cities, not allowed to make masks mandatory. Okay, I wonder what they did. Hey, Governor Kemp, great job. Your no mandatory mask has resulted in Fulton County, DeKalb County, Cobb County, Gwinnett County schools going virtual. I thought you wanted Georgia students back in school. You just made that impossible. What a yokel. Gee, it's almost like that was predictable, wasn't it? This is a very bad decision. Parents work, and many cannot be home all day. All the social activities canceled, destroying the social fiber of the children. Masks could make this work, and yes, there will be some illness. Will Fulton County rebate property taxes? I don't know, Mark. That depends. Have you been wearing a mask for the last 4 months, Mark? I think it's a fair question. You can't complain that the schools are going to close because the Georgia governor just said you're not allowed to force people to wear masks. You literally cannot force fucking 70-year-old teachers to go to school and teach in an overcrowded classroom and not make masks mandatory. You know why? Because you'll kill them. Am I being unreasonable here? I mean, granted, if you're in a room full of people and I'm the only one who's being reasonable, you're screwed. But I would like to think that I'm fairly on point on this one. Woo! Oh, this is good. Schools reopen around the world, but not the U.S. Parents should ask why. It's It's because you won't wear a mask. This is really what it comes down to. People are showing all these stats like, how is it America? Like, America's all shut down and all these countries in Europe and Asia are reopening and they're going to school. Because they wore masks. I can't believe this is controversial. It continues. In Georgia, 85 YMCA campers and counselors infected with COVID. Florida, 7,000 kids have tested positive for COVID. Arizona, 3 teachers share a room for remote summer school. All 3 get COVID. 1 dies. Texas, child infects parents. Both die. Do you see the problem here? Okay, we have no vaccine. We have no cure. We have a government that refuses to work with science. We no longer get accurate reporting statistics because Trump hijacked all the state reportings from the CDC to some fucking third-party company that he gave a contract to, a no-bid contract to, by the way. Yay, free market. And these people are walking around going, so the only 2 things we need to be sure of is, number 1, you can't force people to wear masks, and number 2, you have to force schools to open. Okay? Now, even if you want to go with the trope of, oh, but look, kids won't die. Let's just assume that every single kid in the entire world is fucking immune from COVID, but they can still carry it. You're literally going to kill teachers. You're going to kill janitors. You're going to kill the lunch lady. Seriously? Seriously? Instead of wearing a damn mask, you're going to kill the lunch lady. What the hell is wrong with you people? Oh. Okay. One final point before we move on to something that blessedly doesn't involve Georgia and their penchant for wanting to murder everybody in the fucking state. It turns out that in a lot of places around the country, there are school boards meeting right now, and it's almost exclusively made up of middle-aged to older white people who are making $130,000, $150,000, $220,000 a year to be a school board administrator and sit on school boards. And all across America right now, they're meeting in places like Orange County, California, or in Seminole County, Florida. And you know what? They're meeting online and telling people that they need to go back to school. As Betsy DeVos even said in her statement, that particularly students from low-income households need to go back to school. So why is it that billionaires like Betsy DeVos and school board administrators who make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year get to sit around and socially distance and stare into a camera as they declare that teachers who make $30,000 a year immediately need to go back to school and expose themselves to possible death because none of the people here on the screen want to have to dealing with their own children 24 hours a day. Y'all should be fucking ashamed of yourselves.